Hey beautiful people, my name's Kristen. Thanks for stopping by to see what I will be reading in November. A few of my kind of staple readings and then lots of nonfiction as I do participate heavily in Nonfiction November, which is hosted by Olive on a Book Olive. I will leave that announcement and information video linked below. I am doing one buddy read in November with Nikki at Red Dot Reads. This had been a book that she had put up to allow people a chance to vote on which book she was going to read, and they didn't pick this. And I said, if they don't pick it, let's read it together because I own it and want to read it. And that is The Bookwanderers by Anna James. Now, this is a middle grade book that is the kind of mystery stories of the children who actually get sucked into books themselves. And I think they interact with the characters. I don't think they actually become one of the characters. Let's see, this one of her favorite characters, Anna Green Gable and Alice from Wonderland, show up at the shop. So characters come out of the books. So this, I have not read any of these series, but I think it sounds delightful and that I will probably continue on with this series, but we are going to journey in that together. So that will be fun. My last classic for the year that I have not read that was chosen, that I have been saving, is this beautiful edition of Siddhartha by Herman Hesse. And it just has really pretty pages. And I know this is a fiction story, but has a lot of philosophy. I did read this in high school, and I remember being impressed and really liking it and kind of struggling a little bit with it. So I'm really looking forward to rereading this particularly beautiful copy. And I specifically saved it for November because November is my birthday month. And I just wanted to read things that I really wanted to read. And I've really been wanting to read that for a long time. My last fiction book, well, I have two fiction books, one in November, one in December. The one for November will be Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower. I really enjoyed Kindred, that she wrote kind of about a woman that gets transported back in time to have a mission. And this one is also set in modern day. I don't think there's any time travel in this, but it also involves a 15-year-old girl that is kind of on a journey. And I like the reference of the Parable of the Sower being a biblical reference. I think there's going to be some struggles with morality or ethics, the right thing to do. I think this one has some stuff to do with climate change and that kind of thing. So we will see. We will see, kind of speaking for the trees, maybe a little Lorax vibes going on there. Then my nonfiction for the month gets into my Nonfiction November challenge. In November, it is my general practice to try to read something written by a past president. So this year I had slated Jimmy Carter's White House Diary, and this is actually going to fit into the 4 prompts. Olive always kind of gives 4 prompts, and one of them was capital. So hello, this is the capital of the United States diary. So there you have it. That's going to be that prompt. Then the other prompts were display, web, and fraud. So for display, I'm also near the top of my list for nonfiction. I wanted to read Braiding Sweetgrass. This book is kind of told with a little Native American kind of spirituality and vibe, but it's kind of the story about nature interacting with one another and those relationships and how ecology all ties together. These are the vibes I'm getting from the reviews and from the references, and I just think that it sounds amazingly comforting and beautiful to read, particularly as it finally starts to get a little cooler and turning up the season here in Texas. So really looking forward to that. And I'm going to call this my display because of nature's display of beauty, of connectedness. When I think of display, I either think of artwork on display or nature on display. So that's how I'm going to frame that one. Now, web was really easy because for my husband gave me for Mother's Day back in May. John Crist, delete that. So this is a Christian comedian who is hilarious. I particularly love his rendition of Visiting Buc-ee's here in Texas. I will leave the YouTube link to that below because it is really funny. Particularly, I mean, you have to know Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is an overly glorified gas station, okay? So this is a book that he wrote about social media etiquettes and faux pas and funny things that had happened because of the nuances of social media and the internet. So World Wide Web, talking about it, writing about it. Haven't read a book that my husband bought me, and I really should read it because I appreciate that he thought of me and that he picked that up for me because he knows I love reading and he knows that I love John Crist. So those definitely fit the prompts. Now, fraud is the last word. So let me show you the books that I really want to read in kind of the order of ranking of priority. And if any of you can like come up with how any of these are connected to fraud, because I don't know a whole lot about them. You don't always know the details of books when you haven't read them. So the next priority one is called As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. This is a book of teenagers refugeeing from the war in Syria. So this is written for young adults, or I don't think it's middle grade, but this is written for, you know, a younger audience to start trying to have compassion or knowledge about the refugee Syrian crisis and just that kind of compassion and sympathy for the world. So I really love those kind of stories. And so I've heard great things about that book and I look forward to reading it. Next in kind of line of what I really hope to get to is a memoir by Meb Keflezight. He is an Olympic level marathon runner. This is his document of 26 different marathons that he's run, different stories and interactions. I used to. I've only run one marathon, but it's something I have a lot of interest in. I just have deep respect for him. He ended up, I think, winning Boston the year after the bombing, if you remember that tragic incident. And so he's just one of those that rises above the occasion, just has a deep spirit of love for faith, for humanity, just a beautiful person. Then the next nonfiction book that I'm hoping to get to is A Personal Odyssey by Thomas Sowell. This is a gentleman who is currently a college professor, but he grew up in the South, you know, in a lot of prejudice and, you know, racism issues, moved to the North, got educated all the way through law school, and has written several books on particularly economics and racism. So he is very thorough and loving in the way he approaches things, but factual, helps you wrap your brain around concepts that are difficult. I particularly appreciate his explanation of economics. His textbook, Basic Economics, is one that I read for pleasure. So love to read about his life. This is a book about his life. It's like his autobiography. Then if I get to it, I have on my hopeful TBR, Stephen Ambrose, Undaunted Courage. Now, this was recommended by Brandon at Brandon's Bookshelf, and I haven't seen him posting in several months, but I will tag you and tag his channel. This is a nonfiction account of Lewis and Clark. So I was particularly interested in that when I saw him reviewing it and just raving about what a great book this was. I had recently been to a museum that featured an entire hallway about the Lewis and Clark expedition and just spent so much time in that hallway, just fascinated. I had studied about it in school, but that just really piqued my interest. So I really look forward to reading a highly recommended book about them. But those other books are kind of, you know, ahead. We'll see how far I get. The Saving Graces On my TBR for December, I currently only have 3 books slated. So any books I do not get to in November will slide into December and just become part of the December TBR. So we will see how far I get. If you've read any of these books, leave me a comment below. If you have any in particular that you're interested in hearing about, leave me a comment. Hope that you are having great readings. Sorry about the sun coming in. The sun is setting really quickly now in the day. But enjoy the sun, enjoy the sun, enjoy the day. Y'all take care.